Welcome to Backyard Family Fun, the podcast from Pride Pool Spas and Leisure Products. In Claxton and Savannah, Georgia, this family-owned business has spent decades helping create memories that last a lifetime. Whether you're a pool owner, a spa lover, or just looking to turn your outdoor space into a true retreat, we've got you covered right here on the Backyard Family Fun podcast. Welcome back to Backyard Family Fun. I'm the producer, Dee Daniels. We're in the Savannah location for this episode, and we've got a great guest with us. A renovation specialist, Wilson Paul, is here. First time on the show. Wilson, welcome.
Thank you.
This is going to be a fun conversation because I think I feel like we are in the thick of pool season where people are just ready.
We certainly are.
Yeah.
They are very ready.
Yeah. I mean, the weather is ripe for it. So, of course, we want everything to be great with our pools and our hot tubs and whatever we have. We just want it to be good. Now, talk to me before we get into the nitty gritty about what you do as a renovation specialist.
I pretty much take the renovations from start to finish. Someone will call in with interest in our services.
Mm-hmm.
I will set up an appointment, go meet with them, look at their pool, see what they have going on, let them know what we can offer them.
Mm-hmm.
I will price it for them. If they want to move forward, then we'll start that process. And, we have certain guys that do that work for us. Most of them work here. We do have a subcontractor or two, and then I see it all the way through.
That's one of the things I love about the team at Pride Pools. I really do, is that you can come in and there is somebody to help handle every step, that needs to happen for whatever you're trying to do. You guys are start to finish with it.
We are.
Yeah.
There's not a lot with pools that we can't help somebody with.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And people love that, which is why they keep coming back for, over 50 years now.
Yes.
For sure. So, we certainly love talking about, and we've done this recently, talk about new builds and fun toys and all the things. But, a lot of our listeners already have maybe an in-ground pool that they've had for 10, 15, 20 years. And over time, that can wear, and a lot of those elements can wear. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about maybe when it's a worn out situation versus like, I need a total redo here. How do you help customers make that decision?
Well, we just try to evaluate, what's going on with the pool. A lot of times they just need a new liner, and then sometimes they need structural repair behind the liner.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're not sure until you get into it.
Sure.
Because, you're dealing with, something that you can't see. A lot of times you can, know how to read it or tell what's going on, but a lot of times until you take the liner out in a liner pool, for instance, it can be difficult to tell. But most times we at least have an idea.
Right.
What we may get into.
I'm curious too, like, what are some of the kind of common signs that, you need something deeper than like just, probably not going to use the right phrase, but just a patch job.
Sure. Sometimes like with, in regards to the bottom, you'll see that it's very dimpled. You've got a lot of, rough surfaces. Sometimes they need to have some bottom work done. As far as a lot of the older pools around here were made with plywood.
Okay.
And they've held up well. It was a viable method for doing it. But over the course of time, you'll see some bulging in the walls and stuff. And a lot of times you can know that once we take the water out, we're going to have to fix that. The water, of course, is pushing on the panel. Mm-hmm. And so when you take it out, a lot of times when you take that pressure off, it's going to come on more. So
right.
You kind of know you have to fix that. A lot of times you can tell when you walk up to one, if you see the liner like coming out of track quite a bit, the little tracking that holds the liner in, it's got just this little small ridge on it that holds the liner. And over time, just corrosion will wear that out, especially in a salt pool. A lot of times. And then we have what we call retro track. It's a extruded plastic piece. We do that a lot on a lot of them that we have to screw in, and it just replaces that. But sometimes it's difficult to tell, but we can usually get a pretty good idea going in.
Yeah.
We try to. We don't like surprises
Right.
when we get out there if we can help it.
No doubt. I mean, I've been in pools and to houses where you walk and you look at the pool and you can tell there's something going on. And as a homeowner and a pool owner, I mean that would terrify me pretty quickly, as to think like I can't see behind here. So like I really have no idea like what the extent of any sort of damage might be or repair might be. What's that process like? I mean, how do you sort of diagnose the situation? Do you go in and take the liner out if at all possible to see?
Well, around here we don't drain it down and take the liner out without having a new one to go back in, because here we have a real high water table, in which can create hydrostatic pressure on the pool. So you don't want to leave it drained any longer than you have to. I tell homeowners all the time when I go out and they're trying to be helpful, say, well, I'll get the water pumped out a week or so before you get here. I'm like, no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Leave the water in there. You always want to leave it full, even if it's green.
Yeah. Thanks for your help, but no thanks.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm always appreciative of people trying to help, and we have a good sized pump that'll make quick work of any size pool.
Yeah.
But back to your question, try to look at it, try to give them, best case, worst case, and then we have to say, we'll kind of just have to find out when we get into it. It's usually not too bad. We're pretty good at patching them up, getting them back going.
Yeah. So I mean that does happen. A patch situation
yes,
does
ma'am,
happen,
especially with the older wooden wall pools. I mean, the panels, they're made out of. I mean, they have sheets of plywood, and of course they have a frame behind them. But the sheeting is bad. The fasteners, or whatever, will rust over time, and they'll be bad. They kind of want to come push in toward the inside the pool, and we'll have to fix those. That's the most common repair we make, probably, aside from the tracking.
Right.
Part would be having to fix some panels that have, worked or pushed their way in.
Yeah, yeah, and that seems like that has. I mean, you'd be able to tell me if I'm absolutely way out of left field here, but I would imagine having the panels is something that allows you to be able to focus on just one section instead of
it does. That's
having to necessarily mess with the entire pool.
That's very true. Yes.
Yeah.
And in that case, we'll fix the panel that needs the repair, and then we'll always go around and put new screws in all the rest of them and resecure them.
Right.
But
let me ask you about this. Is there a common sort of time frame for a liner where this is going to last me probably this amount of time in our environment? I mean, we're in Southeast Georgia. We've got a lot of people have coastal, sort of conditions around their house all the time. So can you even have a time frame to know this will probably last you about X years?
Most of the time, they last anywhere from 8 to 12 years, more like 8 to 10.
Okay.
A lot of it goes back to taking care of the water chemistry, because that water is up against the liner the entire time, and letting the pH get real low, which means it's acidic. So, I mean, basically you're allowing acidic water to be against it. I mean, it's in the name acid, that can hurt. And then, of course, the chlorine, a lot of people sometimes will just throw the shock granules in there and it'll settle down on the liner and it'll just sit there and dissolve, and that's not good for it. Sometimes you go to one, you can tell that certainly that it wasn't taken care of as far as the chemicals, but anywhere from 8 to 10 years is usually what we see if it's taken care of.
Yeah.
And just...
Which is why we talk all the time on this show about bringing your water in and getting
That's right. That's right. Yes, ma'am. Because even the backyard test, the strips and doing with the reagents, it does a good job, but it doesn't tell you what the computer test does.
Yeah. It's like a whole DNA sample.
It really is.
What
Yeah.
you get with that, and I mean, it goes such a long ways because if once you start bringing your water in, now you've got this profile to go by, right? And so then you're able to say, okay, well, this is what it was doing, last month versus what it's doing this month, and I feel like it's
Exactly.
so valuable.
It is. 'Cause one, because it tells you exactly what's going on, and two, if you get into a warranty situation with some of your equipment or the liner, or a lot of time they're going to ask for the records to see, because really bad water can affect the equipment, the liner, all of it. And so if you're able, if you have a problem and they say, what about the records? Do you have any testing where you can say, yeah, here they are. Here's, every month you got a professional water sample. You're way ahead of the game there. It just takes one thing off the table to
Right.
make sure that, it's able to go through for you.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about too when you're talking about, like, let's say we've got some repair going on with the liner, or maybe we're doing a replacement of the liner, and so you've drained the pool. While the pool is drained, am I also thinking about some other things I might need to fix or upgrade? Is that the time to do that, or what do you suggest?
To a certain extent, it is. Like a lot of times we recoat the steps because if they have cracks in them, we can fix that, recoat them, make them look close to new again. We don't like to say we make them look new, but we make them look pretty close. Really and truly, as far as the liners go, though, we try to get them in and out as quick as we can, because
You don't want to leave it like that.
we don't.
Yeah.
Because they can, you can have damage from the hydrostatic pressure that we've added.
Once you're in that, like, I'm thinking about, okay, what other maintenance issues might I be having? Do I need
Sure.
to, do I
And
need to
yes,
fix?
and sometimes, we have to replace some wall fittings or do some of that stuff. And the time to do that, if you're having like a leak, in your plumbing or something, especially anywhere where it enters the pool, is when you're doing the liner, because it would seem easy, but a lot of times where you have like a jet or the skimmer or something where you have a hole through the liner for the water, and a faceplate around it. You take that off to change out what it's attached to. It is not easy to get it to match back up and go back on like it was and not leak. It can, if the liner's got a few years on it, it can be very difficult, and you wind up, you may have fixed the one problem, but you've created another, and then you
Right.
wind up to fix that. You have to get a liner. So a lot of times we try to do any of that type of work along with the liner change.
Right, right. Well, I'll leave liners alone for a minute because I
Okay.
feel like I've been pouncing on them. But talk to me about some of the other repairs. I know that it's like when you're putting together your whole backyard, you've got everything is, working together. So like the decking, do you do
Sure.
a lot of that as far as helping with that renovation
We
piece?
do. We do. The majority of what we do is we recoat the deck. So a lot of the decks, when they're built, have what they call cool deck on them. It's a cement and marble dust kind of mixture that's a coating, and it helps lower the surface temperature, so you can walk on it, in your bare feet and not get hot.
Because that's the worst.
Yeah, it is. We resurface those. We use, in the resurfacing part, though, we generally use a different product than the original Cool Deck, because we found over the years, especially Alex and them here, that the Cool Deck does all right to start with, but when you use it on an old deck, it tends to not stay down very good like it should. So we use a different product, which helps with that. It doesn't cool quite as much as Cool Deck, but it's still a vast improvement over just a plain concrete deck. So that's a lot of what we do. A lot of the pool decks have dropped, like that have sunk out around the edges
Right.
and kind of started sloping away from the pool. We have a gentleman that we work with that helps us with this, but we can, do concrete lifting. They'll lift it up. They put the foam injection underneath it, kind of like the foundation.
I wonder how you
Guys.
fix that.
Yeah. Sometimes they use the foam. Sometimes they'll use like some actual jacks and lift it up, and then they put the foam kind of to hold it. We don't do that every day, but we do have the capability to do that.
Yeah.
Like I said, that is one thing we outsource because it's pretty specialized.
Mm-hmm.
We also have done some deck complete tear outs and repours. Most of the time, you don't have to do that.
Right.
They can, with usually the cost savings, with just repairing it is enough that you can make it look pretty good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What kind of like issues do you run into issues given I just feel like our weather here is so interesting and so the environment, we are humid and wet like most of the time. And so like what kind of issues do you run into because of that? As far as like does that give you any extra barriers you've got to deal with because of the environment?
The humidity, not too much, but this time of year, the afternoon thunderstorms and stuff, we have to, as far as the liner changes especially, we have to be pretty cognizant of the weather, because you don't want to have one with the liner out just wide open and have a real strong thunderstorm, because the water, the rainwater can build up behind the walls and under the, in the ground. And it has happened, but we try to pay attention to that. That's the main thing we deal with, is just watching the weather for those. The liner changes have probably the most variables that you have to look out for as far as weather and all that. The other stuff, I mean, redoing the decks, obviously when you put the coating on, you don't want it to get rained on, but at no point if it does rain on it, the worst thing that's going to happen is you might have to put another coat on or something. With the liners, you can just get some damage if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So we just pay attention to that real close.
Right. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I told you I wasn't going to go back to liners, but here I am.
That's okay.
That's
a lot of what we do. We do most of those because Pride has built a lot of vinyl pools over the years that we change out, and of course we change them for pools that we didn't build as well.
Right.
Right. There's a lot of vinyl pools in this area.
Yeah, no doubt. So. And I was just thinking too, like about a scenario. We had a friend that moved into a house, and there was a pool already. Not an in-ground pool. It was like a partially. It was in the decking, and it had sort of. But they moved in, and that you could tell that pool had been there for a long time. They wanted to keep the pool, but it needed like just a refresh all the way around.
Sure.
And just curious, when you walk into a scenario like that, I don't know anything about this pool because I just moved to this house, let's say, right? And so how do I, what is that fitting process for like, we're going to do a new liner or we're going to do a resurface or, how do I even start that? How long does something like that take? I'm sure it depends on the size of the pool and the yard and all of that.
It does. So the liner changes themselves don't take that long. As far as, the bulk of it happens in one day, and then you do have to come back a second day. We change it out, take the old liner out, get the new one in, get it started filling up the first day. We put a vacuum kind of thing behind it that helps, remove the air behind it and pull it into place. And then we get it filling up till you get about a foot of water in the shallow end, because you want to really get that water on there, especially to make sure the walls and stuff get where they're going to go. If you put the skimmer plate and the returns and all that in, the first day you run a risk of sometimes that water will pull down on that vinyl a little bit, and if you've already put the screws through it, then it can. Because
it's moving as you're starting. It's really kind of
It will
shifting.
kind of move. Exactly.
Yeah.
It does. You get it in there and get it into place, and you put in the vacuum, really gets it kind of where it's going, but nothing gets it where it's going quite like the water. Right? Yeah, because once the water gets on it, it's not moving much.
Yeah.
So then we do that, and then you fill it up, like I said, to about knee deep in the shallow end, and then we come back a second day and put like the face plate is what we call it in.
Right.
But also your question about the measuring, a lot of them, we just have to go measure them.
Right.
And order the liner. We have certain shapes and all need certain measurements. Some of them are easier than others. Like a standard rectangle pool, that one's pretty easy. Some of your free form ones that are like your kidney shaped, or you're just, got all these radiuses, they can be time consuming to measure. It's not overly difficult, but you have to take a bunch of measurements.
What's the weirdest shape you've ever seen?
Probably just kind of,
because that kidney shape, I would imagine, is pretty
the
tricky
kidney
trying
shape,
to work
but
around
then it's
all that.
kind of like that, but it's, it's just, there's no real shape to it. I mean, it's just a lot of,
It's like
it's
fluid.
just curving all the way around. And sometimes they'll have like tanning ledges and benches and stuff in them, and they can be difficult to, I mean, it just, like I said, again, it's time consuming to measure, because you have to set up these points out in the yard and measure from each, we call it A-B measure, in which you have to measure to each spot from the two places and record 100 something from each point, and it just takes a long time.
That's a lot of math.
It is. It's a lot of writing is what it is. It sure does help to have two people, so one can measure and call it out and the other can write. I do them by myself every now and again. If it's a big pool, I'm going to get some help.
Yeah.
But,
well, since you brought up the tanning ledges, and that's very interesting to me. I'm curious, I would imagine, because most of those are sloping like almost into the pool, right? And so, or there's a part of it that's you're sitting in some water in some of those. And so do you surface those the same sort of way? Because if it's sitting in water like the whole time, how does that work?
So the vinyl, a lot of those that we do are vinyl covered tanning ledges, and they are surfaced the same, and the liner covers them. They have a thicker vinyl with sort of a more textured, durable surface, if you will, made for it to absorb the friction of stuff moving across it and people standing on it and all.
Yeah.
But so they are a little different. They're made to be more durable.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're cool. I mean,
they are cool. Yes.
If you have them, it's like, woo, these are neat. I think the first time I ever saw one of those was like a fancy hotel pool, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then like you started seeing people get those in their pools, and I was like, this is the way to go right here.
And if they're very nice, for lounging and being in the water. If it is on a concrete pool or a plaster pool, a lot of people call them gunite pools from back in the day. They're all really one and the same. But it is generally the same plaster that's covering the pool.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, just wanted to ask, about, as we're in the thick of pool season, what if a pool owner has noticed, they're walking around either around the pool or in the pool, and they notice just some like rough spots and rough surfaces. Is that something they call about and just say, hey, I got this going on. Is this repairable? What do I need to do?
We can help with that sometimes. A lot of times, if there's something going on under the liner, if the liner's more than a couple years old, it's not as easy to pump the water out, pull the liner back, and do something under it as you might think. They get brittle. It's hard to get them back. I have found too that the liners, they're tougher than a lot of people think. Sometimes like a little rough surface or something underneath is not going to cause really a problem like you would think it would. Sometimes we can go, underneath them, take the water out and but it's not as easy as you would think. It seems like it'd be simple. Just take the water, pull it back, put it back, fill it back up. But sometimes they don't want to go back like they were. You wind up with wrinkles. And so, the thing to do is call us and we can evaluate it and see what the options are.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's best to just soldier on with the liner you have, and then when it is time for a change, then that's the time to do like the repair underneath.
And so probably too, a lot of people might be thinking, oh, I've got a little, rough spot, or I've got a little bump here. Is it going to tear the liner? And that's maybe you're saying it might not. So
in all likelihood, no.
Yeah.
We have here in this area, especially with the groundwater, it'll rise and fall, and sometimes you can have a pool for a couple of years that sat out there and the bottom was perfect, and then we get a lot of rain, the groundwater comes up, it's kind of moving, then all of a sudden you look and you've got a divot or a rough spot, as you say. And we see a lot of them, that those spots have been there almost the whole time the liner's been in there. And when you take it back, there's no damage on the back. They really are pretty durable in that regard. They don't hold up well to sharp objects.
Right.
But
they can take somewhere.
They can.
Yeah.
They can. Yeah.
Yeah.
They can.
Well, I know you do great work, and the team here at Pride Pool is always ready to help in any situation. Wilson Paul, of course, if you got questions, you can always pop in and ask. And it's great work what you guys do. And I know this is your busy season, so thanks for sitting down and talking with us.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening. Come by and meet your local pool and spa experts in Claxton on Highway 280 West or in Savannah on Gateway Boulevard South, or go to pridepools.com. If you love backyard family fun as much as we do, be sure to give us a rating and review, and subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. And if you have a question or topic you'd love for us to cover, drop us an email, info@pridepools.com, or tap the links for Facebook or Instagram in the show notes of this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's go make a splash and have some backyard family fun.
Pride Pools, Spas,